Monday, February 22nd. This past week, the Beastie Boys have started framing around the triangular portions of the solarium. After this framing is complete and all the layers are added, it will be the support for the large windows. Days later, you can see all of the layers that have been added to the framing. And look, Howard, there's no hole on the end of the building. One day, Don observed this worker climbing up a really tall ladder to look into the elevator tower. Wilbur can fly over the towers much easier than climbing a tall ladder. When he looks into the stairwell, he sees the silver landing platforms and stair treads. These will eventually be filled in with concrete. Over the elevator tower, he can see red steel supports and cross beams, but no elevator cars have been installed yet. As long as he's in the area, he decided to look down into the stairwell that comes out of the parking structure. You can see stairs and landings, but they're much farther down. Weather has been so erratic, even the Cat in the Hat doesn't know what to think. It snowed in the night, and I woke up on Valentine's Day to a little drift on my patio. Couldn't help it, had to stomp some footprints in the fresh snow. Inside, Ruth Ogawa came to our door and wished us happy Valentine's Day. She was in shorts and red golf shoes with cleats. Puzzle makers were longing for spring as they completed this colorful puzzle full of flowers. Birds are chirping as a worker valiantly strives to uncover the controls and start the SkyTrack. It finally did, and he began to bring wood up to the third floor so that they could continue framing inside out of the snow. Someone else on campus needed his services, so he backed up into the big metal frame. I'll bet you he had some unkind words to say for whoever left that right in the middle of the road. Truck arrived full of vents, and they carefully carried them around the building. Up in the cherry picker, they had to trim and shape the square openings so the vents would fit. Sometimes they slid in easily, others needed much more tweaking to get them to fit, and I'm afraid there was more frustration and a little cussing. Walls and doorways are being installed at the end of the assisted living hallways that lead out onto the solarium. Another morning, the big cat is starting to dig earth away from the fence and the sidewalk along the street. This will begin the preparations for the retaining wall to come. During our lunch, they had installed large metal sheets to keep the ground in place and an orange barrier to protect sewer pipes. It wasn't too long that afternoon before the snow picked up, and I think they had to admit defeat and go inside and work on a different project till the next day hopefully had better weather. Jan Hooper sent pictures of workers on top of the wood shop. They weren't having much better luck. Down below in the fitness classroom, workers were adding extra insulation around the windows. Scaffolding is being removed from the fitness classroom and stacked near the pool. Soon they will begin stuccoing above the Sandia patio. Following day, the sewer piping that joins the street has been uncovered. It needs to be changed so the angle comes straight down from the sidewalk. This was how much sewer pipe had to be removed for it to fit closer to the sidewalk and make room for the new retaining wall. After piping angles have been corrected, they attach a chain to the big metal panel and gradually move it over to the left to protect the new pipes. It doesn't look like it's moving very much. Outside my balcony was a new noise, sort of a rattly clang sound. I looked out and found this worker lifting off a door frame from the tines of the big SkyTrack. Second frame wasn't so easy. He had to get it maneuvered above the safety railing and then get the cat to move forward so it could slide through the opening and he could disengage it and carry it inside the building. After the fire marshal's inspection of the new healthcare area, we found white hoses around campus for easy access in case of a fire. Walking east along the building, you can see that square vents have been installed in all the holes on the assisted living building. Near Gate 8, a cat was busy digging a trench to relieve the water that has swamped in front of the building. Looking north, the 4th floor of IL Apartments is moving right along. In the Alta Vista parking lot, I'll bet this little green Volkswagen was hoping not to be covered by snow again this season. From the casita wall, I can see that framing has come all the way out to the red steel of the solarium. North lot is mostly empty of framing now. Remember Phyllis Barnes' great-grandson, Finn? He had a really rocky start and wasn't eating and thriving. Look at him now. Mom Emma is very pleased with the progress and his pudgy cheeks. Finn likes to chill out with his dad Dave, watching TV or just chatting a little. Snowman was courtesy of Molly Caskey, Julie McVeigh, and Olin and PJ Thompson. Mountains are glorious after a snow, but I am really looking forward to warmer days. Sunny days means melted snow and continued progress on the construction site.
Hi, from Independent Living, the 6000 wing. Last week they were midway through framing, and as we can see, this week they're midway through putting the trusses on the 5th level. We note that there's been no movement of the potty, and also that they've begun taping and painting the sealant around the windows. See down there in the lower left corner. Hi, this is Wilbur's personal narrator flunky, and it's Wednesday, February 24th. It's sunny and 50 degrees. No snow, luckily, this week. Here on the east end, notice there's lots of loose lumber and loose plastic pipe lying around. As usual, the work on the south side lags behind the work on the north side. What are those white things just coming into view on levels 2, 3, and 4? And on level 3, there's a guy there working. Looks like he's installing it. Oh well. And look in the lower left, there's some work going on there on the roof. What's that? No matter how repetitive these levels are, there are always a few puzzling things you see for the first time. There was a crane here one day earlier this week, but it's gone now, so it's safe for Wilbur to fly around and take his last long look toward the east. Last week, we saw some of the ways we can control Wilbur. We can make Wilbur ascend or descend by controlling the power to all the rotors equally. We can control this by moving the left joystick on the controller forward to rise or back to descend. We also saw we can get Wilbur to move forward by tilting Wilbur forward. We do this by decreasing the power to Larry and Moe and increasing the power to Curly and Harpo. Thus, Wilbur tilts or pitches down in front. The thrust from the propellers goes more backward and pushes Wilbur forward. This is controlled by pushing the right joystick forward. And note that if we push the same joystick backward, Larry and Moe speed up and rise, Curly and Harpo slow down and drop, the thrust moves forward and pushes Wilbur backward. So, we now know how to go up and down and how to go forward and backward. But note that Wilbur is a quadcopter and is fourfold symmetric. Turn it 90 degrees and it looks the same. So we can go sideways with the same techniques as going forward and backward. So to go to the right, increase Larry and Harpo and decrease Moe and Curly. W tilts or rolls to the right, thrust moves to the left, and Wilbur goes to the right. The right joystick controls this. Move it to the right to go to the right. The last kind of movement and the last joystick movement is for rotation. Moving the left joystick left and right causes Wilbur to rotate counterclockwise and clockwise. How does it do this? Conservation of angular momentum. More about this next week. Right now, on to assisted living. There is more taping and sealing going on the west end, and on the roof, the insulation seems to be mostly installed, but there's a lot of detail work still going on. There's no more digging going on for the retaining wall, and there are lots of trucks parked around. About 4 or 5 of the windows are covered with plywood rather than windows, probably to allow materials to be passed inside. In the lobby area there, you can see that they're working on the flashing or soffits by the roof, but otherwise the lobby area has very little activity. We note that the roofs here are cleaner than we've seen them before as we jump over to the back side. The north side looks much the same as last week, and we note that they still haven't painted the yellow sealant on all of the walls. They seem to be doing detail work on the roof insulation on the west end. That's about it for this week. Everyone have a good week, and then we'll see you next week.